All right, and then this clip now is about letting go of issues. And I don't know about you, but this is a fun issue to explore. No pun intended. You know, the idea of letting go of issues is important to moving on from your past. In terms of there's certain core issues that definitely you want to work through with therapy or however you want to do it, and definitely professional help is recommended. There are other things that you can do through letter writing, burning letters, sending letters, of course if it's safe to do so. And what you'll find is when you make a mental agreement to end an issue, that sometimes can be more powerful in terms of resolving the emotion. Okay, and so this is one of the reasons. So your emotions, you've heard it said that if you write your emotions down, and you want to be you just let your feelings go and you can vent. But if you can do it in a controlled kind of I feel, and then get into nonviolent communication. If you studied the work of Marshall Rosenberg, and one of my mentors, Dan Clerman, has and his wife, or his partner I should say, Medita Niskar, they actually have some great um, work on communications and skill building too. You could check out. I think he has his website is comoptions.com, compotions.com. He has great stuff. Him and his partner have great stuff on communications. But anyway, you can check out anybody. Emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman's work, of course. Emotional freedom technique. There's the tapping solution. A lot of people look at. A lot of people talk about EFT. Again, the emotional freedom technique, which is also tied into that in some ways. But I think one thing that people don't do, see, they keep, and I know I've done this, is they hang on to certain issues and they keep them going and they're going and they're going again. So you work on the issue, and then whatever work you've done, it's maybe changing and shifting your consciousness. And I actually had a graduate school instructor that said, she said you respect your process. It was for family systems. It was a great class, and it was for my psychology masters. It was one of the years of graduate school that I applied to another graduate school, and then I eventually earned my master's in that degree. But for that subject, but what I wanted to share with you about that is that when you let go of an issue, you free your psychic energy, and so that energy that you have to work on other things, it really makes a difference. How many of you have noticed that when you've resolved an issue, haven't you had that I can let it go? Well, you already could have let it go, but what you felt you needed to do was do whatever it was to let go of it. You see what I mean? Many times we consciously create a rule that, oh, if I create this rule, then I'll let go of the emotion. This is not in all cases. There's some cases where somebody has buried something, repressed something, and Freud talks a lot about this. And they bury a memory, and then it can actually come out through something. There can be a trigger. And remember, your outer experience is telling you things about your inner experience. You might have heard it said, the reflection principle. So when you let go of issues, what happens is that allows you to learn from them and grow and move forward. And you might have had a situation where, like, okay, I learned this way. I'm going to be more careful next time, or I'm going to learn this. Or you can also understand that when you let go of an issue, especially if it involves other people, you can be assertive about it, yet let it go. How many times are there things that you've communicated, and you don't have to be passive aggressive. You don't have to be aggressive. There can be a temptation when you don't get a response and you want to resolve something. And I think that if you can create a situation about what you can do about a situation, you can play it out. Brian Tracy talks a lot about this too, about projecting forward into and again, I have assisted him at 2 events and product sales, and then it was through his seminar company, and the president brought me in, and I assisted him with ushering and product sales. But he basically said that at one of the events he talked about projecting forward and seeing what could go wrong and then anticipating solutions. So when you do that, it's like you're looking at the depth as best as you can see it. Now the thing is, if you're coloring the experience emotionally, it might be hard to do it. But if you have a situation that's, I'm trying to let go of, you might need help. You can journal it. But then I've also found making an agreement, sending that letter, burning a letter, If you're ending a relationship, one of the things that I did, and I've known other people to do this too, and I made suggestions also, and John Gray has a great book on this too. I don't know offhand the title, but he's the author of When Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, that one, right? Um, he has that one, and then there are other book titles, but I think, I'm not sure of the book title, but he suggests something similar to what I suggest. And essentially, what I suggest is to you write what you feel, okay? And then you show how your life will be better in 1 year. And then you wish the other person well and you bless them. I actually had a situation where um, I opened it in a year and I had wished the woman better, well, and then also myself. I actually forgot to open it exactly 1 year from the date because I had already resolved my feelings and processed them. So don't be surprised if something like that happens where you've already cleared the emotion around it so you can let it go. What I found is when you clear the emotions and you drop issues, you actually can be, not only can you take the gift of the lesson, you actually can focus more on other things. Isn't that interesting? Because it's addictive, in other words, to hold on to a behavior pattern or not let go of something. Now, I want to be very careful about this. I wanted to share something with you in terms of, like, I had a personal experience when I was in graduate school and I was earning my sociology master's. And I remember taking a class, and I was earning a grade in the class. And I mean, how many of you have had some situation where somebody didn't communicate something clearly, but it was also on you to take responsibility and follow through on something? And so there was an email around Thanksgiving, that the professor had sent. This was some years ago. And she said, okay, now we don't have, we have your final project, then peer review. She sent another email that said, after your final projects are submitted, I'm going to work on your final grades. What do you think by that? When somebody says something like that, they think that, oh, well, that means that I turn in the final project, I'm done. That's what I thought. I'm like, I could kick up my heels, I got my A. And it wasn't not so fast. There was the following week of peer review. Remember, she had talked about that during Thanksgiving. We're talking about 4 to 5 weeks later, something like that. And then it was 3 or 4 some weeks later, and then there's this email that she said you didn't complete this and you got a 0. And I said, well, but you said you were going to turn in the final grade after this. But it was in her syllabus. And so I challenged her on it, and I knew from my own experience, as a live and online and senior instructor, and I knew from having situations myself, handling them, and being helping with grading situations in the past. I knew the perspective, but I saw where she was coming from. But understand that I didn't do the last week, the peer review, the peer discussion with our projects. We're all supposed to share them and then give each other feedback and just talk about the course. But I didn't know that because I thought we were done. I didn't see anything, and at that time, I think the week was grayed out, and I didn't even notice it. What ended up happening was it went to the department chair. And my advisor, who later became a professor, said, oh, I totally see where you're coming from. She says it's going to be helpful in my learning. So she changed the way that she was going to do some things around similar issues. But the department chair said, we're not going to change your grade, and we're not going to give you the opportunity to make it up. And it was in the syllabus. And the syllabus is a contract, and I know that. So I learned a powerful lesson, but she said something. She said, and so now that you've heard me say it, and I'm giving you the decision, are you willing to let the issue go? And are you willing to focus on the rest of the program? And I said, yeah. But that was so powerful. I never forgot her saying that. How many of you have had somebody say something similar? It doesn't even have to be an academic example. But have you ever had a situation where, boy, you learned a lesson, and you have to be responsible, especially it goes back to what I said about being coachable, teachable, or flexible. There's a video clip I have on this. Just recorded a little while ago. And I talk about that sometimes things don't work out the way that you think they're going to work, or work out, and somebody wants you to do something different. You got to be open, and even if the way that you're doing things can work up until a certain point, may not work past a certain point. So you might have to change and adapt, or you might want to change and adapt. And so at that moment, you have to say, do I take the lesson and move forward? You can. So I took the gift from it. And you know what I've done with it? anytime I've had a student in a similar situation, I have decided to be flexible and understanding. So I have made a commitment to myself that if I ever say anything that confuses a student in the way that I was confused, that I felt that I mean, I'm responsible, then what I will do is allow them within the university guidelines to make up whatever they need to make up if it's on me. Are you with me? If it's on me and I look at from their view, okay, so what did I say? Why would they assume this? And then, okay, I see where they're coming from. Let me allow them to make up. But what's important about that is you can take the gift of a lesson, drop the issue, and then move forward. Take the gift and move forward. You can do that in any type of work situation. You can do it in a romantic situation with the letter writing technique. You can also do it with situations where you need to tell someone how you feel if it's safe to do so, and you can send the letter, or you don't have to send the letter. You can communicate and then burn the letter. Talk to a professional counselor or something about that first. I don't assume any liability for anything I say in here, but I think that this is very important in terms of agreeing you're willing to let issues go. And then if you understand, I still have something I'm working on, then do it. But you know what I found? I found that there are people that talk about being pulled by a vision. It's amazing if you agree that if you don't if you let go of issues, then something else is going to come through. It's amazing how your consciousness kind of bubbles up with things, right? It just kind of something else can come, and you can go through a cycle of different things, different thoughts, and you can just let the thoughts pass, but you can get a lot of great ideas when you clean internally, when you clean the emotional issues. What I'm noticing is, and I've had a lot of students go through situations, just people that I've known also, is that you can stay more focused on what you want to because you're removing barriers. You're removing the subconscious, unconscious blocks, and that's allowing you to stay and get wired. Neuroplasticity, you're getting wired in a way that you want to get wired around issues, circumstances, events, and things that you want to create for your life. So, for example, if you want to focus more on health and wellness, you can make that agreement to yourself that you're going to do that. You're going to commit to certain activities. So you're not being held down or bogged down. And then also what's interesting is that the new activities you engage in are not going to be used as escapism as much, or if at all. So whereas if you uncover the emotional pain or feelings that you're processing, then issues around eating might resolve themselves in some ways, but you got to still take care of the habit pattern. And I want to talk something about taking care of the habit pattern. I want to be very careful about saying this because, if you have any kind of, mental disorder or some sort of disorder that you're seeking treatment for, you got to continue that. But I had, where I lived in this apartment complex some years ago, there was a girl that was living in my complex, a young lady who had bulimia. And she was in college, and she told me about, she found out, one of the things that I've done is I've taught abnormal psychology. And, I have experience with this, and I've actually been through Weight Watchers. I've actually, gone through some weight loss myself, not drastic weight loss, but I studied the eating habits. I've studied, worked in nutrition. I've worked and seen how people have lost weight, and what I saw was that she was building an identity around being bulimic, and it was being reinforced. She went to 2 group therapy sessions a week. She saw her psychiatrist 4 times in a week, 3 to 4 times a week. Well, she was actually seeing him 3, and he was encouraging her to see her 4. Now, I'm not saying anything, because obviously he's a professional and you got the group things, but you're not letting go of the identity, are you? If you're going that many times, that's a lot of, you know what I mean? And it's almost like, but she's also staying in an apartment, they were probably wanting to keep an eye. And then what happened was, she had books on bulimia and eating disorders, and then she had above it, like in her apartment, she had above it, get motivated. So she had all of these patterns that were, these things were reinforcing her bulimia, and she actually didn't, it wasn't encouraging her to let go. And I'm not trying to say anything about this other than the fact that I saw the counter intentions there. I saw that, wow, there's this saying that she's really trying to resolve it, but then does she want to give up the supporting kind of structure? that is actually encouraging it. So this is something really to think about when you're dropping an issue, when you're dropping something or a behavior pattern. Obviously, you're going to need ongoing support, perhaps for something like that, and that's very serious. But if you're dropping something, well, we're not talking about dropping something. You have the support to because in some of those cases, it's some with some eating disorders, they have cutting behaviors and something accompanying them because there's this internal manifestation of the depression. So somebody's hurting themselves, right? So there can be the outward expression as well. But when you work through the change and you let go of an issue, there are going to be behavioral changes too that can drop away, but in some, you actually have the behavior reinforced. So now you got to have the behavioral issue. I helped a student back in 2000. She had asked me for help, and at the time, this didn't, the school was okay with it, but what had happened was she wanted to quit smoking. And so we set up a graduated progress plan, literally not unlike systematic desensitization in some sense with the baby steps. And we had a 10-week plan where she was substituting smoking. She was going to drop smoking. She made the agreement that she was willing to drop smoking. And of course, you got the subconscious, unconscious pattern, and Freud blended the two, kind of holding her to the smoking. But she chewed gum. Okay, so she chewed gum, and I had her substitute, use the principle of substitution. But she still had something in her mouth. She quit smoking, but now she was left chewing gum. And I told her, she said that's okay. So she thought that, sugar-free gum was better than smoking. So she did quit smoking. And I've had other students quit smoking through journaling. Okay, again, I'm not assuming any responsibility here, and you need to check with your professional or anybody else. But I've had other students that have actually journaled, worked on their emotional feelings and their number of cigarettes. I had one student drop from 21 cigarettes. Well, 17, then to 4. She went from, I thought it was 21 to 17 to 4. But it knows there was a 17 to 4 drop that was definitely confirmed. And she said that by journaling about her issues, underlying issues, the behavior pattern lessened in intensity. So she did notice it in herself. And why this is important is because you can track your progress externally by journaling, letter writing, as we talked about, seeking external professional advice, and then that willingness to agree, I'm going to drop it. One of the things that I think that you can also do is to face your fears. Okay, so face your fears, and I'll probably make another video about this. Face your fears around anything that it is that you have to do, and that'll help you to drop the emotional issues around facing your fears. Okay, so that can help you to take the plunge, and that's going to open up a whole other topic in the next video. So hopefully you found some helpful hints here. Getting professional advice, journaling, making the agreement to let go of an issue. It's very important to kind of agree in your mind. Even if you don't know how initially, just the willingness to let go of an issue. I want to let go of this issue to be free of whatever it is, and to be grateful for it, that you're embracing it and that you're moving forward and you will resolve it, and then you'll be able to spot or recognize similar situations. You might not even attract it again, but you'll be able to grow from and transform from it and to move forward and inspire others through it. So in the next one, I'll talk about facing your fears and taking the plunge and moving forward.